Hey there, welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. This is the place where we bring you the headlines and the latest in Black news, views, and opinions. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi.
And I'm Melissa.
On today's report, the House passes Voting Rights Bill H.R. 1 in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Trump has been served with civil rights suit after Capitol riot, and details on the passage of a Mississippi bill that's set to ban female transgender student athletes.
A black officer fired after using the N-word on body cam. Oregon moves to ban the display of nooses, and a Mississippi school is under fire for slave letter writing assignment.
Ice Cube updates his contract with Black America. Church leaders say Johnson & Johnson vaccine shot should be avoided. Texas Power Grid operator fires CEO. Plus news on Jay-Z and Tidal.
Yes, we have all that and so much more. So if you're ready, it's our voice and our truth. Let's get it.
To me, this reeks of conflict of interest.
Do we know if he actually waved a gun? We only hear one side of the story.
This just really did make me feel good that the justice system did what they needed to do.
We're going to keep following this story, and we will have the latest for you. Here are the headlines for the day. The House of Representatives has passed a bill that's being called the most important democracy reform bill since the Voting Rights Act. I'm talking about H.R. 1, and last night's vote was 220 to 210. Now, this comes as state lawmakers across the country have been pushing forward legislation to roll back voting access in the aftermath of former President Donald Trump's loss. The Biden administration released a statement saying this landmark legislation is urgently needed to protect the right to vote and the integrity of our elections and to repair and strengthen American democracy. Congressional Black Caucus Chairwoman and Congresswoman Joyce Beatty says the importance of H.R. 1 for the people cannot be overstated, and the active participation and advocacy of the CBC has been critical in helping ensure legislation adequately addresses the needs of the communities we serve and does not dilute minority representation. Mississippi Congressman Benny Thompson actually voted against the bill, even though he co-sponsored the bill, making him, the only Democrat to vote no here. He told Fox News his constituents weren't supportive of the election overhaul. And so in this instance, he stood with them rather than his colleagues. I found that interesting, but maybe we'll learn more about that as things go on. I just do want to break down a couple more things as far as what exactly is in this bill. It enacts automatic voter registration. Mm-hmm. It ends partisan and racial gerrymandering. It institutes public financing of elections, expands early voting, prevents voter purges, exposes dark money. So these are all great things, and it's all likely to completely fail in the Senate under the filibuster rules.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you think about it, it's also eliminating foreign interference in elections, which we know has been a problem in the past. But at the end of the day, they did what they had to do to get this done last night, was it? Is that what they did?
Yeah, last night. Yeah.
Why can't they do that for the stimulus check? Every time I see something like this get pushed through, I fall back on that because as Americans, we appreciate this, we look forward to this, but we also are hurting as people in this country, and we want to get that check, man. They got to make that happen.
Let's not get sidetracked and, talk about the stimulus check when this bill is extremely important. This is, in the same vein of John Lewis's legacy. And Brooke's right. It's going to head to the Senate where it's either going to be stalled, it's going to die, or it's going to be subject to the filibuster. So it's not going to see an easy passage. And the reality of the situation is when you leave things like this up to the southern states, we're going to be left counting jelly beans all over again in order to prove our right to vote. So, it really is a source of frustration at this point. Yeah. Demi? No? Okay. All right. Well, on Wednesday, the House of Representatives also approved legislation aimed at preventing police misconduct. The Democrats named in honor of George Floyd, whose death in police custody sparked nationwide calls to overhaul policing and address racial injustice. House Democrats originally introduced and passed the bill titled the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act last year in the wake of Floyd's death, but it never passed in the Senate, which was under Republican control at the time. Supporters of the bill say it would improve law enforcement accountability community and work to root out racial bias in policing. Democrats now control the Senate, which has a 50-50 partisan split with Vice President Kamala Harris acting as the tiebreaker. But most legislation in that chamber still requires 60 votes to overcome a filibuster, and it's not clear that there would be enough Republican support to get the legislation across the finish line in the Senate. The vote had earlier been slated for Thursday, but a Democratic aide told CNN that there was discussions of the House staying late to avoid coming in today in light of Capitol Police warning about security risks. So it seems like common sense as to why this bill is necessary, but the reason why Republicans oppose it is because they feel like federal mandates go too far and would weaken the ability of officers to do their job. And they also don't want to get rid of qualified immunity, which is one of the main reasons for this bill. But what's interesting and funny is that a single Republican crossed the line and backed up the measure, but he did it by accident.
Well, he says he did it by accident. He says that he accidentally pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, he says he accidentally pressed the wrong button. He is a staunch Trump supporter.
Right.
So it was definitely an accident. So I went back in history, and there is a lot of mentions of, people who have pressed the wrong button and voted for something that they were staunchly opposed to. So he's not the first one to, press red when he wanted to press green.
It wasn't his conscience?
Yeah, I'm going to still say, because, listen, he's an absolute Trump supporter, but he's also one of the people who push the big lie. So I'm not going to go as far as say I 100% trust everything that comes out of his mouth. Some people just like mess, and some people lie. So he says he pressed the wrong button. But thinking about that, his job is to press the right button and to always know what he's doing. And these are the people who are saying you shouldn't be able to make $15 an hour minimum wage right now. He can't even press the right button in his job. Okay.
You have one
got a
job.
point on that one.
You know what? You have one job. What really made me smile when I saw this yesterday, I really smiled about this because I was thinking about all of the black men that have died at the hands of police that will not even get to be acknowledged by the president, get to be acknowledged by representatives, get to have a bill, get to have a protest. So this just really made me smile. And I feel like it's definitely a step in the right direction. But we still want to see Derek Chauvin get charged for the murder of George Floyd, and I think that'll be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and, seeing so many black men and women die at the hands of police officers, they have to rebuild that relationship with the community, right? So hopefully if they follow these rules and regulations, we can start doing that. You have to build trust. It's going to take a long time before that happens, but maybe this bill can put it in the right direction. We can only hope, right?
We can only hope. So attorneys for Representative Benny Thompson and the NAACP have served the former president at his Mar-a-Lago club with a lawsuit filed in February, according to the Daily Beast. Thompson and the NAACP filed a suit against Trump, alleging that his dangerous rhetoric and false claims of a stolen election turned into a conspiracy to interfere with civil rights by inciting the January 6th riot at the Capitol. According to a complaint, the lawsuit lists Trump, his attorney Rudy Giuliani, the right-wing extremist groups, and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers as co-defendants, and builds off the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act, which was intended to protect against conspiracies through violence and intimidation that sought to prevent members of Congress from discharging their official duties. Trump advisors did not immediately provide comment on who, if any, at this point is representing the former president for his lawsuit. We just know that when Trump was served, it was signed by a person who goes by the name Ricky, according to the document. So, of course, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like, who's this mysterious Ricky person?
Did you find out who Ricky was?
I didn't get a chance to find out Ricky. Did you get a chance to? We can talk about that in a second, but, we've talked about this a little bit. But, back to Benny Thompson, he's the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee. And so he's partnering with the NAACP on this, of course. And so he pretty much said Donald Trump has to go away. They are taking, again, I've told you guys, I'm always happy. The NAACP, they are doing their thing right now, and we love to see it. So, he pretty much says Donald Trump has to go away. If he doesn't, we will put him out of business. Derek Johnson came back. They compared the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers to the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, they are relentless with this, and I love it. Even Derek Johnson of the NAACP, he says that we have enough facts, we have all the details, it's going to go through. So I'm really looking to see how far this goes.
You know, if you think about this man just caused an uproar within our country, right? We know what Trump did, and he's still trying to do it. And we have to handle this business because he still thinks he's going to come back in 2024 and possibly run, right? So at some point between now and then, I think a lot of things he's going to face, and I don't think he's going to be able to get away with everything that he's done in the past. So it's just a matter of time, and I'm hoping this is one of the things that brings him down, honestly.
Yeah, the great thing I think about this overall is that it keeps this in the news. It keeps the public's eyes on what happened on January 6th, because in a lot of ways, people aren't talking about it enough. You know, you see big time news shows and a lot of Republicans who did push what we all at the time knew was a lie in an effort to just kind of disenfranchise a bunch of Black Americans' votes. It was a lie. That's we work in facts here, and it was a lie that Trump won the election. He lost the election. That is actual fact. And a lot of lawmakers who pushed that lie are kind of getting to continue on as if they didn't do something, didn't lie to the people, which led to what we saw. And so I think overall, the good thing about this is that it just keeps what happened on January 6th in the news.
And the way we ran the election when he won was the same way we ran it when he lost, right? So I don't understand how you can feel that something different happened other than you lost. Take the L. He has to do that.
Take the L. You know, Brooke, that's a great point. Like, because, I've been trying to figure out, too, like, why is the NAACP, like, they've been around for years. Like, but it seems like now they are really just like, really, really going for it with everything. They're on top of everything. But I think that a great point that you make is that they want to stay in the news, want to stay relevant, because they don't know which one is going to, be the one that goes all the way. So they have to get, cover all the bases. So I love it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ice Cube has announced an updated version of his contract with Black America that outlines long-standing specific issues facing Black American women and the sports industry. Ice Cube added a set of tactical solutions along with additional updates throughout the contract. The original contract was announced this past summer and spurred a string of political conversations around racial and economic equality in America. In partnership with lawyer and activist Camilla Moore and lawyer Maureen Simmons, the contract with Black America now includes an additional section dedicated to highlighting the many concerns facing Black American women. The section includes both legislative remedies and guiding principles. Under the Sports Industry Economic Development Plan, CWBA Sports Initiative, the contract outlines solutions to the systemic racism engulfing sports today, with a focus on professional and collegiate levels. The recommendation action items call for leagues and national governing bodies to work together in order to foster the economic growth of Black-owned businesses and overall workforce. To learn more about Ice Cube's contract with Black America, visit www.contractwithblackamerica.us. If you think about this, when it first started, people were all on board. I kind of feel like some people they're still paying attention to it, but maybe not be so because it's been going on, it's been extended. Has he sat down with the Biden administration like he said he was going to do? We're not sure how far that has gone along, but I do understand what he's saying with some of the things he wants to add to this. And one is like when you think about the college and professional level, right? How the ownership and certain people benefit from that, but most Black businesses don't. Athletes don't. So there's a lot in this contract, but are people still paying more attention to it, do you think?
I mean, I had checked out of this a long time
exactly.
ago. So a long time ago. But what I will say, if it's okay, I will say is that this just proves that this wasn't something that was so worthy of a demand to meet with the future president of the United States and vice president of the United States, that it could cause you to go over to Trump and publicly support him, because it wasn't ready. At the very least, what you were pushing and saying that you were demanding a meeting wasn't ready. It was incredibly, massively lacking a focus, an important focus on Black women's needs.
So you feel the fact that he had this out to his contract, right, with Black America, there's some people saying in hopes that this would get done, that's not one of the reasons why they went out and voted? So this had nothing to do with the election?
I just think that we need to play devil's advocate a little bit here and try to look at things from the point in which where we did not know how the election was going to go, and we had survived 4 years of Trump. There was such a sense of urgency to figure things out, whether or not he was going to win the election and try to find footing within his administration because he was going to get another 4 years, or was Biden going to win? Like it was chaos for 4 years and leading up to the election, So, I mean, we've painted a picture that Ice Cube is public enemy number one, and I just don't really see it that way. He may not have
but
been.
Who is we?
just in general. He received an enormous amount of criticism, and that cannot be ignored. The reality of the situation is that a lot of people who offered criticism are just basically armchair quarterbacks that had nothing to offer. The reality is that he's very proactive. He's included Black women into this whole program, and he does have a meeting scheduled with the Biden administration at this point. And at this point, he's also hired political strategists to, kind of help grease the wheels, if you will say. Maybe he was a little bit too aggressive, or I don't
Some
know.
people made the wrong decision of how he handled it in the beginning, but
I am one of his criticizers, and I'm very much, nothing about this new additions to this contract is moving me. I love Ice Cube as a legendary, iconic artist, and I think that that's all that I really want from him right now. His mother is Black, his aunts, his family are all Black. He has a lot of Black women in his family. So, even on Fox Soul, on the Cocktails with Queens, when Claudia Jordan asked him why weren't there any women in his contract, he got very defensive, and he was like, well, no one wants to help me. You could have gotten help. You're Ice Cube. You could have asked Diddy. You could have asked Jay-Z. Beyonce's best friends with Michelle Obama. It's so many other influential people that you could have asked that have straight lines that you could have called on to help you with this. There are representatives. Did you ask Maxine Waters? Did you ask anybody? Did you ask for help? So my thing is, I'm not moved about the fact that after he got dragged on Instagram and Twitter to include his mother and his sister and his aunts and uncles in a contract that you made for Black people, now all of a sudden you want to add us to it. I'm not moved about it.
I completely agree with Timmy. Just really quick, if I can say, because I go back to that, because I don't know if I consider, at least the critics that I saw, armchair quarterbacks. Like, I saw 4 Black women sitting there who were saying, hey, as a Black woman, and I do think those 4 women are experts on being Black women. You know what I mean? As we all are. And we, of course, we're allowed to have different opinions on things, but I do think that there were 4 Black women saying, hey, this leaves us out. And it was very defensive.
It was.
It wasn't. And I think that I've seen a lot of activists, like actual experts in activism and what we need, also saying, hey, we reached out to him. Hey, this or hey, that. Hey, a congressman saying, hey, this. A lot of experts saying, listen, we're trying to help you make it polished. And that wasn't happening.
We knew what his intentions were, and it can still get to that point.
Definitely
so I'm not going to jump ship on him right now.
Agree with you, Romeo. Definitely not going to say that it wasn't polished and there wasn't room for growth and evolution, which he might be experiencing now, and not saying that the Black women, that these political activists were not within their rights to criticize him. I'm talking about the overwhelming criticism that he faced that was bordering on cancel culture. That's what I'm talking about.
When I don't agree with cancel culture, but it was overwhelming because we all lived through these past 4 years. That was overwhelming. We lived through that.
Exactly.
And so overwhelmingly, a lot of Black people who had been saying, hey, listen, if this administration has a lot of white supremacist beliefs, stop this.
Exactly.
I think it was the past 4 years was overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
And
this could be a long debate.
We know that, but
it's a very long debate.
Move on.
Yeah.
Because
we're not canceling Ice Cube, but
right.
because